Jason Statham's fame is thunderous, engines roaring, glass shattering, fists flying. But behind the spectacle lies a far more devastating story. This isn't the tale of a man born into greatness or of effortless talent discovered overnight. It's the story of a boy who clawed his way out of poverty and into Hollywood, carrying the weight of hunger and survival in every step. The films, The Transporter, Crank, Fast and Furious, aren't just action movies. They are monuments to a life built through pain and perseverance. This is a story about a man who transformed suffering into art and a childhood of cold streets into a career of blazing lights. And it's a reminder that even the toughest heroes are forged in the harshest fires. Born into winter, Jason Statham was born on July 26, 1967, in Shirebrook, Derbyshire, a place where the wind seemed to cut through the soul. His childhood home was a narrow world of cracked windows, cold smoke, and the constant fear of tomorrow. His mother, Eileen, was a dancer whose applause faded quickly. His father, Barry, worked endlessly, miner at dawn, painter by day, street seller and pub singer by night, trying to keep food on the table. Jason grew up with his older brother, Lee, learning early that childhood was a luxury reserved for other families. He followed his father through the bleak markets of Great Yarmouth, selling cheap jewelry and perfume to strangers who barely glanced at him. It was here, among the bitter air and hard faces, that he learned his first lesson. Balance is not a skill, it's survival. The pool became his refuge. While other boys chased footballs, Jason chased motion. At 12, he began training at Crystal Palace National Sports Center, already behind by years compared to other divers. He knew he was late, but he refused to believe he was lost. He stayed long after practice ended, climbing back to the board while the janitor turned off the lights. The silence became his teacher. The discipline became his only friend. In 1990, he represented England at the Commonwealth Games. But in 1992, his dream shattered. He missed the Olympic team by one place. 10 years of sacrifice vanished in a single moment. He didn't cry. He simply watched the water calm, as if erasing the ripple of his dream. That day, rejection didn't destroy him. It hardened him. He left the pool and walked into London with nothing but stubborn will and a hunger that wouldn't die. Homeless in the city of dreams, London was gray, wet, and merciless. No coaches, no medals, no applause, just cold wind and the constant threat of being forgotten. Between 1993 and 1996, Jason lived day to day selling cheap perfumes, watches, and trinkets. His voice grew raw from calling out to strangers who rarely looked. He wasn't proud of it, but he refused to steal. At night, he trained in the dark, push-ups, shadow boxing, fighting the ghosts of failure. He learned something that would define his entire life. Dignity isn't what you have, it's what you refuse to lose. He became a man who could survive without comfort. And in the darkness, he began to shape the person he would one day become. The world saw his face, not his past. Then came the spark. While training at Crystal Palace, he was spotted by sports promotions. They liked his face, not handsome but real, scarred by struggle. Soon he modeled for Tommy Hilfiger, Levi's, and French Connection, but the streets still called him back. "I was a hustler," he admitted. "It kept me alive." Then destiny knocked. Guy Ritchie was preparing Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels and needed someone who could play a street hustler. When he met Jason, he didn't see an actor, he saw truth. Jason didn't audition. He told stories the way he used to sell watches, direct, raw, unpolished. Ritchie listened and said, "You don't have to act, you've lived it." That line changed everything. The role paid $5,000, but it gave him something far greater, a path out of the life he had known, from street hustler to screen legend. By 1998, Lock, Stock exploded onto the screen, and Jason's life was never the same. He didn't just play grit, he was grit. 2 years later came Snatch, and suddenly he was on red carpets, standing beside stars like Brad Pitt. Then came The Transporter in 2002. Jason trained for months, mastering Wing Chun, kickboxing, and Krav Maga. He refused stunt doubles, insisting that if he got hurt, at least it would be honest. He paid the price. Torn ligaments, bruised ribs, a shoulder that still clicks. Between 2002 and 2010, he shot nearly 2 films a year. You wake up bruised and go to sleep broken, he admitted, but you do it again. Hollywood loved his physical intensity, but it also began to see him as replaceable. The failure of Revolver in 2005 tested him, but he fought back with The Bank Job and The Expendables. And when Fast and Furious 7 turned him global, he became more than a star. He became a force, the cost of being invincible. Behind the scenes, the life of an action star is a battlefield. In 2011, while filming The Expendables 2 in Bulgaria, a stunt went horribly wrong. Jason watched as a young stuntman, Kun Liu, died instantly in an explosion. The crew stood frozen. Jason stared at the black water where laughter had been moments before. He realized then that he was not invincible. He started calling stunts risks paid in blood. 2 years later, Paul Walker's death on Fast and Furious 7 shook him to the core. Paul was more than a co-star. He was family. Jason arrived at the memorial, head lowered, tears falling. "The world lost a star," he said later, "but for us, the ground gave way." The loss was a reminder that the price of this life isn't just physical, it's emotional, and sometimes it's permanent. A body built like steel, slowly breaking. Jason kept pushing his body even as the toll became visible. By his 40s, his spine compressed, joints screamed, and every doctor warned him, "You're breaking yourself one scene at a time." In 2014, during The Expendables 3, the brakes failed on a 3-ton truck during a stunt. The vehicle plunged into the sea. Water surged in. Jason's seatbelt tightened. The door stuck. He thought of his family, then forced his shoulder against the metal until it broke open. He fought his way out, lungs burning, water dragging him down. When he emerged, he was alive, shaken, soaked, trembling. Stallone said, if anyone else had been behind that wheel, they'd be dead. But Jason showed up to set the next day, bruised and quiet, ready to continue. That's how he lived. Every risk paid in blood, every victory earned through survival. The man behind the myth. In 2025, Jason Statham stands not as an untouchable action hero, but as proof that even steel can be wounded. With a net worth over $120 million, he's built a life far removed from the freezing streets of Shirebrook. He owns homes in Beverly Hills and Malibu, a London portfolio near Kensington, and a garage filled with cars that remind him of the life he left behind. But what defines him most is his devotion to simplicity. He lives in London with Rosie and their children, mornings in Hyde Park, weekends in the countryside. He donates to sports charities and stunt foundations because someone gave him a chance when he had none. He still trains daily, not for the camera, but for balance. He doesn't chase fame anymore. He protects meaning. He doesn't shout success. He lives it quietly. And as he looks over the London skyline, he understands that peace isn't the absence of struggle. It's the victory of having faced it and still standing tall. The victory of survival. Jason Statham's story isn't a fairy tale. It's a testament to what a person can become when every option is stripped away. He rose from poverty without privilege, endured pain without complaint, and achieved success without forgetting who he was. He turned survival into art and struggle into a legacy. And now, even as the world sees him as a fearless action icon, the truth remains. His greatest strength was never his fists, it was his refusal to stop moving. He didn't just become a star, he became proof that even the harshest life can be transformed into something powerful, beautiful, and lasting.